what does the new iPhone 14 Pro Max bring to the table and how it is different from the already fast and long-lasting iPhone 13 Pro Max? Well, with the upcoming iPhone 14 Pro Max, Apple seems to be improving the one thing that might be stopping some people from buying the Pro Max: its physical size. With a thinner border around the screen and narrower overall screen aspect ratio, the iPhone 14 Pro Max might be just as powerful, but in a body that's easier to grasp with one hand. Of course, Apple is bringing the most advanced A16 Bionic chip, and a brand new 48-megapixel main camera is expected to up the ante in the photo quality significantly. But all this may also result in a higher price tag. In this video, we dive deep into the differences between the iPhone 14 Pro Max and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, let's get started. iPhone 14 Pro Max versus iPhone 13 Pro Max design. The iPhone 13 Pro Max and the iPhone 14 Pro Max share much the same silhouette, with both having the flat surfaces and sharp right-angled corners of the iPhone 12 Pro Max before them. It had been predicted in some quarters for the iPhone 14 Pro Max's frame. Apple would switch from the iPhone 13 Pro Max's stainless steel finish to a tougher titanium alloy. That hasn't proven to be the case, however, with very similar polished frames on both. These are two hefty devices, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max measuring 160.8 by 78.1 by 7.65mm and weighing 238 grams, while the iPhone 14 Pro measures a similar 160.7 by 77.6 by 7.8mm and weighs 240 grams. As you can see, the newer Pro Max is fractionally shorter and narrower, but also a tad thicker and heavier. In terms of color, the iPhone 13 Pro Max comes in graphite, gold, silver, and Sierra blue. Apple has changed things up with a new deep blue shade for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, alongside gold, silver, and space black. But the main design difference here relates to the display's notch. While the 13 Pro Max has Apple's familiar Widow's Peak notch eating into the top edge of the screen, the 14 Pro Max really mixes things up. This time around, the front camera and Face ID system are stashed behind a punch hole cutout that Apple dubbed the Dynamic Island, while the proximity sensor is located behind the display. It takes up 30% less space as a result, while the screen flows around and between the visible elements. Apple has also implemented a new UI for the Dynamic Island that provides various context-sensitive notification animations that grow and shrink according to the task. Meanwhile, the bezels around the 14 Pro Max display have been reduced. Another design difference is even a larger camera module for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, even though the basic look is much the same. The reason for this will become clear when we come to discuss the camera system itself. iPhone 14 Pro Max versus iPhone 13 Pro Max display. Both of these phones have 6.7-inch OLED displays with 2778 by 1284 resolutions and can hit a maximum of 120Hz refresh rate, thanks to the LTPO technology. But while the iPhone 13 Pro Max can drop up to 10Hz in certain conditions, the iPhone 14 Pro Max can go all the way down to 1Hz. This enables the newer phone's always-on display functionality, which constantly displays basic information such as time, widgets, and live activities on the lock screen while only placing minor strain on the battery. The 14 Pro Max display is also capable of going much brighter than the 13 Pro Max, to the tune of a huge 2000 nits in peak outdoor conditions, which is twice the brightness of the 13 Pro Max. iPhone 14 Pro Max versus iPhone 13 Pro Max cameras. While the 14 Pro Max sports effectively the same rear camera array as its predecessor, featuring wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lenses, is coming to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, expect a big change to the main camera. The 14 Pro Max has a 48-megapixel main camera up front, ending years of 12-megapixel sensors appearing on Apple's phones. The new sensor should help the iPhone 14 Pro Max deliver better photos, and Apple claims its photogenic engine tech will further improve the quality of low-light photos captured with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The 14 Pro Max is also better at capturing videos than its predecessor, since it can record videos in cinematic mode at up to 30 FPS in 4K HDR, where its predecessor could only manage the same at 1080p with no HDR. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max also have access to a new action mode for capturing videos full of high-speed action. Add all these changes and it's looking like the iPhone 14 Pro Max will provide a better camera experience than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Impressive, since that latter phone already ranks as the best camera phone in our estimation. Of course, we'll have to wait until we test one out for ourselves to know for sure. iPhone 14 Pro Max versus iPhone 13 Pro Max specs and performance. The iPhone 13 Pro Max continues to be one of the fastest phones in the market, courtesy of its A16 Bionic chip with the 6-core CPU and 5-core GPU. Apple appears to have taken its own crown, however, with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Apple's new A16 Bionic chip brings another boost, including a GPU with 50% more memory bandwidth and 20% more efficient performance cores. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out in real-world usage. It's interesting to note that Apple hasn't made any bold performance claims comparing the A16 to the iPhone 13 Pro Max's A15 Bionic, so this may be more a case of efficiency and computational photography gains between generations. In storage terms, both phones offer 4 variants: 128GB, 256GB, 512GB, or 1TB of internal capacity. iPhone 14 Pro Max versus iPhone 13 Pro Max battery life and charging. For the iPhone 13 lineup, Apple increased the battery sizes all around, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max jumping to 4,352 mAh cell. That helped the phone last up to 12 hours and 16 minutes on our battery test. It appears as though Apple hasn't changed the battery much for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, instead only slightly upping its mAh rating. Still, given the likely power efficiency improvements of both the A16 Bionic chipset and the iPhone's 1:120Hz display, the iPhone 14 Pro Max should be able to keep pace with its predecessor. Apple claims that the 14 Pro Max can achieve up to 29 hours of video playback on a full battery, which is 1 hour longer than 28 hours it promised for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Both phones continue to charge at 20 watts, while rival Android devices push for faster and faster charging speeds. Despite a rumor earlier this year that said Apple was working on 30-watt charging, the iPhone 14 Pro Max still relies on a 20-watt charger, and like its predecessor, Apple claims it can reach 50% capacity after 30 minutes of charging. Summary and final verdict. At the end of the day, so far, Apple has managed to keep the iPhone 14 Pro Max on an exciting note. With a more powerful A16 chip and 48-megapixel main camera, plus the new pill-shaped Face ID cutout that finally puts an end to the notch, at least for the Pro iPhone models. But what do you think about the iPhone 14 Pro Max? What does Apple need to improve to make you buy one? So that wraps up our video. Hope you found this video helpful, and if so, please leave a thumbs up as I always appreciate that. Also, please feel free to leave a comment, suggestion for future videos or questions you have, as we love getting to respond to as many of those as we can. And if you subscribe to the channel, welcome to our legit big family. We've got lots of more videos coming your way. Till then, stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.